Well, that certainly was unexpected. Does it exactly work? Um, we'll see what happens in August. Intro. Hey guys, coming for the mid-season finale of Fear the Walking Dead, Season 2, Episode 7, Shiva, and I was overall looking forward to this episode. I think last week's episode showed me some things that I was impressed with. It showed me some things that I didn't love, but for most part, it showed me things that I really did enjoy and things that looked like they could be really interesting for the mid-season finale. But I honestly had no idea where we were headed for this finale because the penultimate episode, it didn't really feel like a penultimate episode. There were things in it that did, but much of it very much felt like just a season premiere or just the second half of this season. We see very clearly in this episode, though, that is not at all the direction that we're headed. That this is not at all going to be with the second half of the season. We are a completely different direction, and some things I really liked here, some things I didn't. But let's just get into this episode because it does, I think, provide us with some good ideas for what's going to happen in the second half of this season. But overall, the show is still kind of a mess right now. But let's just get into it. We see a young man stands in the rain looking at dead bodies as they fall in the jungle, and a man tells him, "Take the gun, Daniel," in Spanish, and it's like a young Daniel, so that's very interesting. And Daniel and Ofelia then wake up to the sound of a gunshot. Ofelia struggles to keep up. She doesn't feel well. Daniel's, of course, wondering what's going on, and she starts pulling skin from her face. Really brutal stuff to see. And, I'm like, holy shit, what's going on here? How is this happening? But again, it's a dream. It's actually a dream. The bed next to him is empty, and you kind of get this sense that Daniel is having these dreams for a reason. Now, why he's having these dreams, we don't know. But something clearly shows in this episode that Daniel is kind of a loose cannon, and we haven't exactly shown this season, but in the same time, we haven't exactly focused on Daniel, so I think there's that as well. But whoever played Daniel, I can't think of his name right now, but he really killed it in this episode. He really was fantastic. I've always really loved Daniel. He's always been one of my favorite characters on the show, and this episode further shows why. We see everyone rushes to Thomas's room, though, after what's happened, and Celia questions Strand, and we get more of an idea of how Celia feels about this. She tells him that his soul is empty, and Madison holds her back, and she doesn't see Thomas as dead. It's very interesting, and basically Travis searches for, and basically, she's freaking out. She's saying Strand's done some terrible things and that she killed their son and everything, and she's really upset about it. While Strand, you can tell, is affected, he realizes that Thomas is dead and he kind of needs to move on from it. It's a very interesting, unexpected direction than what I thought they were doing last week, where it seemed like Strand was on the verge of suicide. It seems like right away he's kind of pulled out of that and he realizes he doesn't want to do that because Celia's freaking out. He doesn't want to do that. And Madison does hold her back, as does everyone. And I like that Madison is the one to basically handle Celia here because we've known all the problems she's had with Strand, and for her in this episode to finally seem like kind of stand up for Strand, actually defend him, I really feel is an arc in the making because all season long, she's always thought that Strand has had this ulterior motive, and now she's seeing that Strand really was sincere, that he was in fact going to help he was going to get them, help and everything. He was going to visit his boyfriend, and she realizes that. So I really like the way that was done. But you also see that Nick is pretty much brainwashed in this episode. Just the way that Nick is. Again, I really think that the producers don't know what the hell they want to do with Nick at this point. I mean, it seems like, and I think everyone's noticing this, every single week it seems like they have a new arc or a new development for Nick that doesn't make any sense. Let's get to his arc in the past 3 episodes. In one episode, he's killing tons of walkers and he's completely okay with killing walkers and he's telling you they should be killing walkers. Last week, he wants to seemingly stop killing walkers, and this season, in this episode, he wants to be a walker. I mean, I don't fully understand it, but we'll get into that. We see Travis then search for Chris, and Alicia tells him that Chris was standing over her with a knife when the gunshot went off, because we know that Chris obviously is a huge problem right now. We know what he tried to do to Alicia, and obviously it does make sense that Chris is going to go searching for Travis. So Strand wants to bury Thomas. Celia doesn't support anything that Strand is is saying, though, as she approaches him. Nick stops her, asks her to leave Strand for some time with Thomas, and she allows it, but when the sun comes up, everyone has to be gone, which I think is very interesting. That Celia said that she really doesn't trust Strand at this point because, one, she had Luis die, and now she's had Thomas die, and she's really pissed at both of them dying. She can't believe that they're both actually dead, and she doesn't know why they're dead. So, very interesting the way that was done. I thought that was a very interesting scene, and definitely all of that. I mean, really to show the kind of not the denial, but really I think how kind of crazy and the ideology that Celia has is really different than any other character we've dealt with before. A lot of people have said that Celia's like our Herschel, and this episode further proves why I don't think she's Herschel at all. And in many ways, she's a much different character. And this episode definitely shows that, and that's something I really enjoyed. Is that they're not at all trying to make her like a Herschel. She is her own character. Problem, and I do think that she did get a good development of 2 episodes, even though she only had 2 episodes here. I do think they did some good stuff with her. So basically, in the fields, Travis chases after Chris as Nick looks on through the window, and Daniel messes around the garden with Celia watching. The sun is up now. We don't really know what's going on with Daniel. He's kind of crazy, and Travis continues the pursuit of Chris, comes across a body with a knife in its head. He nudges it before pulling the knife out, noticing an empty gun holster, and we don't know what this means, who this was, why there's a gun holster there, but Chris looks on from the distance with the gun in his waistband. We realize that Chris has that gun, and he's going to kill someone, because we know he tried to kill Alicia. We're thinking, okay, he's going to try to kill Alicia again, and Madison looks for Chris from the house. She tells Alicia and Nick to pack as much as they can without drawing attention. Let me just say again, this development's kind of come out of nowhere. I mean, I kind of understand it, why this is happening, but it works for the most part. I think it works here. It gives Chris something more interesting to do, and it's better than Chris just making stupid decisions. Now we know why. He wants to be rebellious. He wants to stray away from the group, and she tells Alicia and Nick to pack as much as they can without drawing attention. She's ready to head back to the boat, but Alicia and Nick are not on board. They're thinking that there might not be a boat to go back to. Nick wants to talk to Celia, but Madison tells him not to, and that it's clear that Nick trusts Celia over Madison because Celia's gotten into his head. And when Travis returns, they're pretty much leaving, and we don't really know if this is going to work, if they're going to be able to leave, but Madison's convinced that they have to. So Travis continues his search. He's getting really tired. He enters a small house, and a man startles him, insisting he must leave immediately. He has trouble getting up. The man offers him water. Travis tries to tell him that he's looking for his son and that his feet are injured, but the man doesn't speak English. He shows him the injured feet, and really, I mean, hard to watch, definitely, but Nick walks up to the estate, covered in blood, with an undead Luis at his side, and Madison, Alicia, and Strand then look on. Madison is not at all okay with it. A couple men then hold Luis back as Celia talks about him. She instructs the men to take Luis to the others, and when they leave, Celia tells Nick he belongs here with her. He asks her what happens to his family if he stays, and she tells him that they're not like them and can't be changed. He tries to negotiate with her, and she comes around saying that he'll be responsible for her actions, and the way that Celia looks at death is very interesting. She doesn't look at death as death. She sees it as part 2 of living. Like, when you're a walker, it's kind of like part 2. And again, in this world, she's not really wrong. I definitely will say that, but it is pretty crazy. And everyone can stay except for Strand. She tells him that this is not the apocalypse, but and because she trusts everyone really except for Strand at this point. She tells him this is not the apocalypse, but instead the beginning of eternal life. She kind of sees this as part 2, and that this is kind of the life that they're living in now. And this gets Nick to basically, for the rest of the episode, cover himself in Walker blood and become one of the dead. I mean, it's a really weird development, but that's what he decides to do. Strand digs a grave for Thomas. Daniel tells him not to bury Thomas here because it is infected, and he tells Strand that his friend won't rest here, but instead will come back for him, and that he will in fact turn into a walker. And Daniel, I don't think, is wrong, because he knows that Thomas is going to turn into a walker, but Strand has killed Thomas. I'm thinking, how the fuck is he going to turn into a walker? Strand literally shot him in the head. How is he going to turn back into a walker? I don't understand. Nick then washed himself by the pool, and Madison brings him fresh clothes. She tells him he's different and can't understand his fascination with the dead. He wants her to call them by their names, though, and Nick doesn't want to talk to her while she's being close-minded. He says he just went to go get the woman's son, which she should understand. He offers to go get Travis back and tells her that he can move among them and he won't die, and that he can look like a walker. Now, I do understand that Nick is realizing how to get away from the walkers, but to me, this didn't seem like Nick wanting to take on the walkers. It seemed like he wanted to become a walker himself, which is really weird. So Daniel rushes to Ofelia, tells her to keep her eyes down. He tells her that her mother is waiting at the gate and this place is evil, and you can tell that Daniel's gone kind of senile at this point. Guards approach. Daniel cures one of their faces with a blade before being taken down, and we don't know in this episode. What I love at Daniel is that it's so surreal. You don't know what's real and what Daniel is, hallucinating, because it's clear that he's starting to hallucinate things through, Griselda's death and what's happened there, but it feels kind of out of place, and it feels like this development that we've had that we should have had more with, because it doesn't feel like we have everything we should have, and definitely I think there should have been more to this than there was. I mean, it feels a bit out of place, definitely. So Strand continues digging on. Madison and the others look on. She wants advice on Nick, but he isn't eager to help. He does tell her that Celia has her hooks in Nick, though. He tells Madison that from here, he'll go back to the boat, if there is a boat, and pause before asking if she's interested. She can't leave without Travis, because she doesn't want to leave. But we know that these two are not really on good terms right now. Strand claims that they're not friends. They just helped each other. And I did like this scene here, because what Strand says to her about Nick, I don't think is wrong. The fact that what happened to their family and the way that things turned out there, that Nick is strayed away from her because of the way things have gone for the Angelinos and everything. So I do like seeing that, but I think they really are kind of friends. The way that Strand treats her, he does treat her like a friend, and Travis then gets shoes from the man whose house he is at. He explains again that he's just looking for his son. He starts to discover that the man can speak English before seeing a shadow go by under a door. The man reveals that Chris is there, threatening his son. Travis barges in. Chris points a gun at him while holding the young boy, and you don't know what Chris is going to do here, because he has this gun. Is he really going to kill Travis? I mean, obviously, Travis isn't going to die. The two characters that you know are not going to die are Madison and Travis. There are two main leads. They're not going to die. So back at the estate, Celia delivers a eulogy for Thomas. Alicia isn't okay with Strand being kicked out on his own. She just doesn't feel, she feels like he should be there, but Celia's not letting him come to this funeral. Celia tells him it's time for him to leave. Strand claims he isn't done. He wants a moment with Thomas, and he does, in fact, get it. So I do like that Celia was at least a little bit decent, and she did let him get it. So Ofelia approaches Celia, asks her where her father is. She tells him that he is safe, resting now. She wants to know how long he's been unwell, because she can tell that he's not well. He's senile, he's crazy, he's just not acting normal really at all, and obviously she's very concerned. So Chris tells his father that he looks at him like a monster, and Travis, because he really is, Chris is slowly turning into this monster, and Travis slaps the gun out of Chris's hand. Chris takes off. Travis catches up to him and tackles him. Chris takes Travis's knife. He swings it at him before Travis manages to get it from him. Chris tells Travis, look at me, I'm no good, and I mean, I don't blame Travis here. I mean, Chris is kind of just becoming more and more savage, and Celia then approaches a hostage Daniel, offers him food, but he denies it, and as she talks, Daniel hears a voice from elsewhere. He criticizes Celia's choice to keep the dead around, and we've known that he has criticized a lot of what Celia's done, but it really becomes a problem in this next scene. The voice then tells him, look at me, Daniel, before reminding that he would confess people's names in his dreams. Celia pleads with him to confess his sins. He says he has nothing to say to her, tells him that there is a place for him here, and she will take care of him, and as she leaves, because that's what they're meant to do, they want to find shelter. This is their shelter. She refused to take care of them, not his problem, she's supposed to do that. And Daniel then sees Griselda standing before him, and it's clear that a lot of this stuff, he's thinking that Griselda really is there. It's really interesting the way this was done. Elsewhere, Nick is covered in walker blood. He finds Travis. He tells Travis that he came to get him back, but Travis tells Nick to tell Madison they never saw them. Travis is staying out there with Nick, with Chris, and basically Nick hands Travis his knife and leaves, and it's very interesting. Travis clearly can't be around Madison right now, so I'm pretty sure this is the end of Travis and Madison, which I don't think we should be surprised by, because I think we knew this family was just going to get fractured. I think we just could tell, but it does feel a bit rushed, definitely. Again, does feel a bit unwarranted, like many arcs in this episode, but here's the thing. Everything that does feel rushed somehow just works because the way the show is going moving forward, which we'll get into. So Celia cleans the sheets, covered in Thomas's bed. Madison pleads her to allow Strand to stay. Celia repeats that Strand killed her son. She does, however, compliment Nick and his soul. She tells Madison that if she remains on the estate, she'll have to accept the dead in the same way they do, and if she can't, Nick will choose between his family and the truth they can't understand. Madison claims that she wants to understand because, she doesn't really understand what's going on there because, she wants to understand everything. And, the truth to Celia, to her, is that there is no such thing as death, that when you're a walker, that is the second part of living, and that's the truth. And clearly it's really bizarre, but it kind of makes sense in this world, definitely. So Daniel, we then see, speaks to Griselda, who tells him she doesn't like her, and she asks him what he's going to do, considering he's tied to a chair. She asks if he missed her and if he loved her because she's insulted that he didn't bury her, because of course, he didn't bury her, and he asked her for mercy, but she knows his stories and sins and carries them with her. He claims to have told her everything, but she asks about the one which is haunting him now. Now, here's my thing with Daniel's arc. I honestly felt we should have just had a Daniel-centric episode. I feel it would have been a lot more warranted. It would have made a lot more sense as to why this is going on, and the show is yet to do a single-based episode. Now, it seems like when the show comes back, it is going to do that with Nick. That's what it seems like previews show, which we'll get into, but I feel like Daniel should have been the one to have this. I mean, this is so interesting. The fact he's having these visions of Griselda, the guilt is looming on him, and it's slowly breaking his sanity and slowly making him more and more insane and kind of losing it completely, and I really love the way that arc was done. The problem is I just feel we didn't have enough focus on it. I would have loved to focus on that a little bit more. Then I think it could have been a much more conclusive arc, and I would have enjoyed a lot more. So back in the jungle from the opening moments, a man in the water wakes up. Daniel claims he doesn't remember anything specifically. Young Daniel takes a gun, points at the living man. Daniel explains that this was his first victim. Young Daniel shoots the man, and Griselda tells Daniel that his first victim was himself, and that's very interesting. The fact that by killing this man, he made himself a victim. I just think it's always a very interesting decision that they've made. Now, we've always seen Daniel has been quick to kill. He's always been quick to kill. He's always wanted to kill. He's never refused killing, pretty much, and this is who Daniel's always been. But now that Griselda is dying, that guilt is really looming over him, and I think it's very interesting. So Celia shows Madison to the chamber where the walkers are being kept. She unlocks the door, they step inside, really creepy stuff. The fact that Celia is literally keeping walkers there, Madison is hesitant, she starts backing away. Celia asks, why wouldn't you do that for your children? What wouldn't you do for your children? Madison closes the door, says nothing before taking the keys and leaving. Celia gets teary-eyed looking at the walkers in front of her, and to her, these are just human beings. It's really weird, honestly, and it doesn't come across as, sweet in any way. It comes across as really weird and just strange, honestly, just the way this was done. Daniel's then approached by the man who unties him. It's the same man whose face he cut open earlier. He headbutts him, frees himself over Griselda's force, telling him to hurry and set her free. And Strand is escorted to the gate. He sarcastically tells him he'll haul a cab as the gate closes. He and Alicia share a goodbye wave because he's clearly leaving. He's been kicked out, so he has to leave. Chris and Travis walk through fields together. Daniel enters the chamber full of walkers, pouring gas as he walks. He stares at them as they slowly approach. Their faces clear up, but what's interesting is that he doesn't see them as walkers. He sees them as the people that he's killed, which is a very interesting thing that they do here. He drops a layer, ignites the undead, and it seems like he's dying, honestly. It seems like Daniel has just killed himself, and I don't know if Daniel's actually dead. I would be really pissed if he was, because honestly, I don't want Daniel to die before he has a centric episode of his own. He just feels like he's a character that deserves it. He's a character that should have, and especially this arc, I feel like it would be just a lot better if we would have had a Daniel-centric episode, which I feel is the one thing that we really do need and we haven't had. So that's something that I really hope we do see in the second half of the season. I don't know what's going on with Daniel. The episode doesn't reveal what happened to Daniel after that, but Strand gets in a pickup truck. Nick sees the house burning up in the distance, starts to run to it. The entire compound is burning down, so it's clear that we're not going to be in this compound anymore. This is the end of it. It's clear that this was a temporary shelter. I kind of like it, though, that this didn't work out for them. They didn't stay there for all these episodes. They pretty much had to leave. Madison then searches for Daniel, but she can't find him, and I don't know if that means that he's dead, but the way that Ofelia is, crying as Alicia's holding her back, I mean, I think it kind of shows that something definitely did happen to Daniel. Now, we don't know where Ophelia's headed. Madison tells her that Daniel's gone, and it it appears that Daniel's dead and that he's not coming back, but the episode doesn't outright tell us that. I'm not really sure. I hope he's not dead. I feel like his Sandy's just dead. I don't really know. Strand then pulls up, wants to leave in a hurry. Madison sees Nick approaching, slowly walks to him as Alicia and Strand rush to her to get in the car and to get in the truck because it's not safe. Nick tells her that he couldn't find Travis before asking where Strand is, and Walker hordes are closing in. Madison urges him to get in the truck, but he won't. Strand pulls her to the truck. They drive off. Ophelia's crying over the loss of her father, and as they drive away, Nick walks among the undead. Madison and Alicia watch him become more distant. It's clear that Nick has now strayed away from his, he's now strayed away from his family. He's going with the Walkers to become a Walker, and it seems like him and Ophelia, they're going to be together, and that's where this episode ends. So, really, we now have everyone divided, which honestly seems like a good direction for the show, because I think we'll be able to focus a bit more on what's going on, and I think with everyone together, it did get a bit complex. There are still some things that really don't add up at all in this season. First of all, I really don't know what they're trying to do with Nick here. Why has he gotten brainwashed by Celia? Why does he believe what Celia did? I mean, it just doesn't really exactly make sense to me. But it does seem like next episode they are going to try to make some sense of it, which is very interesting. And apparently we don't have to wait. We only have to wait till August. So how great is that? We have to wait till August. We only have 2 months. That's not that bad in my opinion, honestly, waiting till August. I can do that. I can wait till August. Now, as far as what's going on here, it seems like the second half of the season, it's going to be Madison, Alicia, and Strand on one side. I don't know where Ophelia is going. I feel like she's going with Nick, because those two have been getting really close lately, so I'm thinking Ophelia and Nick. Daniel seems like he's dead. I don't really know, though. I mean, we didn't actually see him die. Now, Celia died off camera. Really weird. I've never seen them kill off someone off camera on The Walking Dead or Fear the Walking. I've never seen them do that ever. I don't know why the hell they decided to do that, because it's really confusing, as well as Daniel. I don't know if either of these characters have died. That's very confusing as well. And then Chris and Travis. So that seems like that's the direction for next season, is can Travis get through to Chris? It's clear he wants to connect with his son, because let's face it, those two have been very distant pretty much all season after the decision that Travis has made. I feel like they're going to go through this together, and I feel like it's a good development for Travis, who I feel has been kind of out of place this season. I mean, he's had kind of stuff to do, but he's been one of the characters where I don't really feel they give him much of an arc, and now it seems like they are giving him an arc, so I really do like that. Strand is going with Madison. I feel like I like that these two become a lot closer. Strand clearly is saying, we're not friends, but it feels like he really is a friend to Madison, that he does really want to help her, and he does really care about her. I mean, the fact that he was telling her we have to move shows in general he does care about her. He's not just going to let her die. I think he does in fact care about her, and he's a good ally for them. I like seeing Alicia goes with them as well. I feel like that definitely does make sense, that Alicia's going to stay close to Madison and Strand. I think that makes sense, definitely. I like seeing that. Now, Nick is the one character that I just don't really understand what they're trying to do with him. I mean, one episode, he's embracing killing. The next episode, he's condoning. He's no longer condoning it. He pretty much outright wants to stop it completely. And then this episode, he wants to become a walker. It just doesn't really add up, guys. I don't fully understand it. Nick started out as the one that knew the most about the apocalypse and knew how serious the situation is. And now that pretty much everyone's kind of on that same level, now I feel they don't really know what to do with him, and it's really kind of becoming a problem. I feel like Nick kind of just needs to get killed off at this point. I don't really know, but I feel like the next episode is going to try to make sense of it, because it seems like the next episode is completely Nick-centric, which is fine. I just wish they would have done that with Daniel. I feel like his arc would have been a lot better if they would have just done that with him, because it did feel a bit weird. A lot of things did feel very out of place in this episode, and this season in general has felt a bit random. I definitely will say that. Now, I don't think this has been a bad season. I do think it's been a little bit more focused. They've definitely tried to do more. I think a lot of what they did on that boat, it just didn't really impact much. Like the whole thing with Jack and Connor, that really didn't do much of anything. What was the point of Alex? I mean, what was the point of her? She's labeled as, she's billed as a main character. She was in literally 2 episodes. You are not a main character if you were only in 2 episodes. So that really pissed me off. It seemed like they never really found much to do with her. And I get that, because she should never been on this show in the first place. I definitely will say that. But you're not a main character. It's really that simple. You're not a main character. But I am looking forward to the return of the show. I do like that we're going in this newfound direction of them all divided. It seems like a good focused direction. I'm just hoping it doesn't become convoluted. I'm hoping they do what The Walking Dead did and try to keep a tight focus on a certain group and not just all the groups, because we have, I believe, 8 episodes left, so I believe that should be enough to tell the rest of the story, basically, to show what's going on with everyone, where everyone's going. I don't know if the show's going to get a season 3. I'm assuming it's going to get a season 3. I'm not really sure. We'll have to see what happens. We're only in the first half of the season, though, and overall, I do think it's been a good first half. I've loved the character of Strand. Definitely, he's been one of my favorite parts of this season. Chris's development, again, it feels a bit random, but definitely seems like they're trying to do more with the characters. They're not just trying to make them random. They're trying to get us to care about them more, which I don't think it's never been that I haven't cared about these characters, because I do care about these characters. Again, I don't really know what they're doing with Ofelia. She's been the one character this season where I don't really know where she's headed. Is Daniel really dead? I don't know. I honestly don't know. We didn't see him die. We'll have to see what happens with that. Overall, guys, what you guys thought of this mid-season finale? What have you thought of this season in general so far? Are you looking forward to the return of the show? I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what happens when the show returns. I mean, I'm always game for this. I've never disliked the show. It's random at times. It's definitely not to the extent of The Walking Dead, but I do think they're trying to make it better, and I definitely do see that. I think the big part of the season that they're trying to make it better. And we'll see you guys next, which will be for Penny Dreadful, which I am hyped for because I did hear it's one of those Vanessa-centric episodes, which are always some of my favorites, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.